What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go battling content. Today's video, oh boy, have I got a good one for you. Today, we're taking a look at a team that I was playing with Forretress here. Forretress, I identify this Pokemon as a really strong core breaker. Drapion, Azumarill, Toxapex, Dugong, many other Pokemon in this meta currently that this thing just completely demolishes. And it's one of those Pokemon that, like, you don't play it in full conscience because it doesn't feel like it's that good, but let me tell you, I'm going to give you the all systems go to try this team. Now, you'll recognize my backline, however, and I didn't even realize it until I put this team together. Azumarill, it covers Forretress. It covers against ground types, it covers against fire types. What more could you ask for? Genuinely, Azumarill just cores really well with this thing. I know it's a sweaty meta Pokemon, but it is what it is, man. This thing is just really good, and it'll never go away. This thing is eternal. And chat, hey, let me tell you a secret. Shadow Annihilate is disgustingly broken in this meta. Oh my god, this thing is just, I can never go back to playing anything other than Shadow Annihilate save switches at this point, because every time I do it, just completely destroys. It's a mandatory thing. You have to have a Shadow, I think, at this point. You can try a normal if you want to, and you could try a Primeape if you want to, but just when you see these games, you will see just how disgusting this Annihilate is. And you guys have probably already seen it get played on Home Slice Henry's channel and some other places. But let's get into these games. You can see exactly what I have in store for you. Starting into this first game here, we're going to have Drapion on the lead. Now, the Volt switches and the Rock Tomb are fine here. You don't necessarily have to go for Earthquake unless shields are down. But I'm going to go ahead and take the first move, and I'm going to be going for a Rock Tomb here to try and see if I can't fish an early shield. But the opponent tries to catch the move anyway, and I see a normal type swap in. This is 8 food is what this is. Watch this. Watch the destructive force of these counters. Just clear this HP bar off the entire screen. It's gone. This opponent's not even getting to another move. And these battles were played nearly at expert elo range. I actually went almost to 2800 with this team from the 2600s. I had a really, really bad run, and then I went 15-5 with this team, and at least 1 or 2 of those losses were due to the game state. Now, we're going to go for the Rage Fist here. I have an opportunity to double boost myself if the opponent decides to shield. They shield once. I'm going to go for another Rage Fist here and look to see if I can get shield number 2. And if I can, oh man, this thing. Watch this. Watch this. I don't know what's in the back, but a double boosted Annihilate. Again, we have enough bulk in Forretress and Azumarill that I'm totally okay with just getting these moves. Look at it. It just deletes this thing. It deletes the Shadow. The Bibarel's gone. It was never there. Good game. It's gone. Goodbye. Next game, we're going to have Forretress into a Golurk. Now, I did cut some of the battles out. I had 4 sets, so these are like some of, I wouldn't say the highlights. I tried to include most of the battles, but there were some just nonsense battles, not going to lie, that I didn't really feel like they added value. But if you'd like to, you can go back and review the stream that we had on Saturday. The last 4 sets of that stream we played with this team. So start at about 30 minutes or so and find where that third set starts, and you can go ahead and check out the action here. But opponent has a Drapion. They're going to bring that into our Azumarill. I just like, the only thing that I have hope for here is that I can go ahead and come in with my Azumarill and just hope that something can work here. The opponent has the Drapion. If I can get both shields down, I have an opportunity to hit the opponent's Golurk with either a Rage Fist, an Ice Punch, or an Earthquake, depending on what I choose to come in with here. And I'm just going to switch right into Annihilate and keep the shield here. The opponent is going to go ahead and get the shield back from me, but this is fine. If they don't come in with the Golurk, I'm probably screwed. But they come in with the Golurk, and we're going for the Rage Fist. If this is enough, we completely clean the Golurk off of the screen here, and it's enough! Oh! Boom! Golurk made of paper, and the opponent concedes. Well played. Now, yes, this is my Legend team with subtracting the Corviknight and putting in the Forretress, and honestly, in the current meta, at least, I would say that it's even better. My opponent safe switches a Corsola, which in a meta that is filled with Diggersbees is a crazy move to me, but we go and we try our best. We get the attack drop, and then we're going to come in with a Azumarill and look to try and land a Play Rough and get rid of this thing. And we also have the Forretress still pretty healthy to deal with the Mandibuzz, and the opponent really can't come in with that Mandibuzz. Now, we tried to go for the Play Rough, but the game did not give me my energy in time, so we ended up going for an extra bubble, which is what it is. It's been happening to me a lot lately. There's been a lot of game issues about energy not coming in on time, games outright just not happening, right? Like the game just completely freezes and it stops working. So I don't know I don't know, man. I don't really know what to say about the game state at this point. It's horrible. There's no word from the developer of the game about fixing it. I don't really know if anything's ever going to get fixed, so we're just here living in the Pokemon Go world, and here we are. But Aerial Ace is not going to do nearly enough to be able to KO. I'm going to go for this Ice Beam just to get some damage off on this thing, and what I'm going to try to do here is actually I'm going to get a little cheeky, and I'm going to try and snipe, because I expect there to be a poison type in the back with the fact that the opponent has a Mandibuzz, but yeah, no, that's a Diggersby. So we're going to just do as much damage as we can, and I'm already saving all of my shields for my Annihilate, which is what I do in most games anyway. Again, this is the fun thing about Annihilate. When you have a Pokemon or you have a team around it that's got a lot of bulk, you can usually just safely put both shields into Annihilate, and that thing flips matchups. It has no business flipping. The opponent is going to throw here, which is huge. Our Azumarill still has some HP if I need it, but it's only going to be used for a sack swap at this point. Opponent's going to have the Diggersby, and they're just going to get clobbered by those counters and go ahead and concede. Good game. Our first set was 4-1. I only put a couple of games in there because most of them were just nonsense. Next game, we have a blast from the past here in Walrein. Like, for example, I saw a triple confusion team. Hypno, Girafarig, and a Rangaroo. The entire team would get destroyed by anybody running a Dark type or a Drapion. So I lost to it because I had an Annihilate, but it's one of those things where I don't really feel like there was any value in adding to the video. But if you'd like to go back and watch all the uncut action again, just go to the stream. But we're going to land the Ice Punch here. I was hoping it would be enough, but unfortunately it's not. But because the opponent had a debuff, I'm like, you know what, just going to let it go. They go for a Fire Punch bait, and they're going to get countered down. Maybe they were expecting me to go for Rage Fist or something, but nope. I have Ice Punch, and I genuinely prefer Ice Punch in every situation. I have actively not gotten rid of Ice Punch. I could. I have some TMs. If I really wanted to get rid of it, I could, but I haven't. I have not felt like I needed to, and I'm going to save the rest of that Annihilate for later. The opponent has the I don't know what they have in the back yet, but we're going to see. And it's apparently not happy to see this. It is, that's right, it's the Walrein, right. I just played these games like a couple hours ago, and I've already forgotten what's on the opponent's team. Oh, goodness, man. This is what I get for recording at 10 o'clock at night. But anyway, we're going to go for the Rock Tomb and get the shield off. I can always just counter down if I need to. I was hoping to get to the Rock Tomb, but the opponent's going to be able to get to their move. I think I would have lived that on just 1 HP here with Forretress's bulk here. And if you do have a Shadow Forretress, you could try it. I personally prefer the regular. I don't have a Shadow, so I couldn't tell you if it's better or worse, but I'm going to go ahead and shield up everything from this Walrein here and from the Mandibuzz. Going to look to try and get a move off, but, you know, again, we have a full HP Azumarill. Azumarill is literally just sitting in the back, just saying, you know what? You guys got this, man. You guys got this. So we're going to go for the Rage Fist here, try to get the opponent's final shield here, but it looks like they may have just decided to stop playing. Nope, they were waiting for the, I don't know if they were waiting for me to try and make a catch or what, but Aerial Ace will take out my Ape, and then we have an Azumarill in the back for them, and we just win the game here. Looks like the opponent now deciding that is a good time to close their app because they just don't want to hit the surrender button. So they want to waste my time? Okay, that's fine. I'll shame them publicly, and I'll go for an Ice Beam, a little bit of bad manners here. Don't close your app, just hit the surrender button. It actually takes less time, and you're being a little bit less obnoxious. And if that's not the case, and it was Niantic being stupid, then, you know, I'll eat crow about it, but I've seen that happen enough times where I'm pretty sure it's the player. But good game, well played. Don't play so weak to Annihilate, man. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, next game up, we're going to have a Jumpluff on the lead. This is a pretty good lead because we do have the super effective Rock Tombs. The opponent will end up going for a Aerial Ace here if they have it. The Acrobatics does not get reached until 8 Fairy Winds, so if they don't throw before, they probably have Acrobatics. Just as a little bit of a, you know, expectation of what the opponent might be running. Because if you go for the Rock Tomb, I don't recommend shielding it, even though you're going to go for the debuff. Opponent safe switches into an Annihilate, but I kind of like, from using my own Annihilate, I know that I can't just bring my Azumarill in here because it's not an easy win. But as soon as they tank that Earthquake, now I can come in with Azumarill. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to fully bubble down this Annihilate. I can take these moves. It's not a Shadow, and I'm not really in any danger here. The opponent's not going to be able to do anything here that I'm really afraid of. And I can go for an Ice Beam against the Jumpluff and get a shield straight off of them and almost get to 2 if they decide to try and overfarm enough. So we're in a really good spot here, but Annihilate still does not want to see the opponent's Jumpluff. I'm looking to try and go ahead and get rid of this thing. I have so much energy. I'm going to shield because I know I'm going to get his shield back. I just have to make sure that they don't try and catch on me here, which is exactly what they try to do. They go to Dunsparce, and this is why I have Ice Punch on Annihilate. I'm going to say it like 5 times in this video, I'm sure. Play rough. I probably shouldn't have thrown it, but we're going to come in with the Annihilate. We're going to fully counter down because that's exactly what a Shadow Annihilate is here for. It is here to completely delete normal types off the face of the earth. Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm doing with it. So we're going to be able to get rid of this thing. Don't even have to spend a shield. Fully counter it down. We're going to be able to get up to nearly 2 moves. I'm going to go for the Rage Fist here. They have 2 shields. I feel like they're probably going to have to use them at some point here. Rage Fist 1 goes, Rage Fist 2 goes, and we have an Ice Beam almost loaded on the Azumarill. And if the opponent just threw, which I think that was a cap tie, then we are sitting very pretty here. But since this is supposed to be a Forretress video, I'm going to come in with my Forretress here and look to try and get rid of this thing and save my Azumarill for later. And here we go. We're going to get the Rock Tomb, the opponent going for the move, and we're going to let it go. It's fine. I'm going to let it go because we can always get to another one. Aerial Ace doesn't hit that hard, and we're going to be able to cleanly take this out. Now, if that was a shield or a Shadow Jumpluff, then that would have been a different story. But we take the Rock Tomb into the Jumpluff, and we're going to take that game. Well played. Next game in here, we're going to be having a Toxapex on the lead. This is one of the many reasons why I love Forretress right now. It is just so strong into stuff like this. Opponent has a Marowak, and I make a bit of a mistake here. I'm not going to lie. Shadow Cancel Marowak is a little bit difficult for this team for the fact that it can flip switch advantage here if it wants to. It does win the 2 shield scenario against the Azumarill if it wants to. Again, if it wants to, but it's going to have to do so at the cost of both of its shields. And the opponent just decides to let that go, which means I get to maintain switch advantage, and I'm going to let the next Bone Club go because I know I can live it. And we're going to just, I'm not going to give too much farm to the Toxapex here. But we're going to have to see what the opponent has in the back because I do think that this is an alignment sort of thing where I want to make sure that I'm maintaining my switch advantage. So I'm just going to let them farm me down. Brine will not do a whole lot of damage to my Forretress. I'm really not scared of it. Ice Beam just for some chip damage because you might as well. And the opponent's going to go for that Brine right away. Thankfully, the game doesn't lag us for a turn, so we do get the Volt Switch through, which is nice. And the opponent has a Gastrodon in the back, and I... Again, switch a little bit too quickly here, but we're going to be able to counter down this Gastrodon. I've played this matchup quite a few times before. The opponent only ever gets to 2 Body Slams or 1 Earth Power if they let that Rage Fist go, which it looks like they're just trying to save shields. I would have shielded that if I were the opponent here, but all the same, I think that we still would have been able to punch through the opponent's Gastrodon. I think that was a misplay by them, though, by not shielding that move. Body Slam gets no shield here because I know that they are only at enough for a Body Slam plus a Body Slam. So if that first move is a Body Slam, then I can no shield the second because Body Slam does pretty much no damage to Annihilate here. And then we can just go for as many Rage Fists as possible. I'm going to try to get to a Rage Fist, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to make it. So I have to, at the last second, switch in Forretress. It's one of those things where in my, like for me, that was a misplay. If you aren't going to make it to that move and you don't think you are, just take the switch out and come back in with the damage later if you want. Opponent didn't bother shielding anything in that game, so we take it. Good game. And we're getting into the next battle with Forretress against a Stunfisk. Unova Stunfisk, yeah, this is a bit of a core breaker. I'm going to go straight to Annihilate, and the opponent is staying in, probably looking to chip and dip themselves here, so I'm going to go ahead and shield up to try and keep my Annihilate healthy. One of the things that is incredibly strong about this ape is that if it has a shield or 2, it can really put in some work. I'm going to go for the Ice Punch here. Most people probably aren't running Ice Punch, as if you saw in my previous video with the Jumpluff team, I don't really fear it for most of the time, and the opponent doesn't fear it either, but now they're going to find out why they should, and now they're going to come in with a Skarmory, and again, I have no problem putting both shields into my Annihilate if I have to, because it will put in work if I give it the chance to. Opponent swapped out very late. They have a Skarmory here, and I'm going to put my Forretress onto the Skarmory here because of the fact that I know this is a good matchup and I can farm this down. They're going to Brave Bird. That's fine. They're going to get farmed down here, and I can Rock Tomb the Unovan Stunfisk if it comes back in, which it does. We're going to go for the Rock Tomb, and the opponent has 2 shields. They either have to spend 1 or they're going to lose their Stunfisk, and it looks like they're going to let it go, save 2 shields, and they have a Corviknight in the back. And one of the biggest things that you don't want to do against an opponent that has a debuffing move is not allow yourself to switch out. Now the opponent is permanently debuffed against my Azumarill, and that's going to flip things in my favor pretty heavily here, as my Annihilate even has quite a lot of HP left to be able to deal with anything. I mean, honestly, that would make sense to me now as to why they didn't switch in their Skarmory or their Corviknight into my Annihilate. It's because Annihilate can just 2-shield through any of those Pokemon if it really wants to, and so they were basically forced to keep in with their with their Stun Fist, but again, they were not expecting me to throw Ice Punch, so we are going to be taking him with the element of surprise and just overwhelming. The fact that Corviknight and Skarmory are just underwhelming at best. I'm going to come in with my Annihilate and look to try and go for a counter down, but the opponent is close enough to a move where they are going to be able to get to it and take us out here. Sky Attack's going to knock out my poor Annihilate. He did his best, but we're going to be able to get a Volt Switch down, and Forretress is taking that game for us here. Well played to the opponent. Next game up, we're going to have Forretress against a Dragonair. I haven't seen one of these in a while, and the opponent is immediately switching out to a Drapion here, and this is fine with me. I'm going to get some chip damage here. The opponent's going to throw their energy. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go for a Rock Tomb, soften it up. Maybe the opponent shields, and if they don't, then I can counter down with Annihilate. Either way, I'm going to come in with Annihilate after this Rock Tomb, because the energy that we have is going to be very helpful in dealing with that Dragonair. And actually, they decide to go ahead and shield, which is really nice for us, honestly, because this gives me even more energy to be able to farm down with. They are going to go for the Crunch. Even with the attack drop, that's still going to do a lot of damage, but I still have to shield a move, and that's fine. They did shield one, so I'm okay with giving up one of my shields, because I'm going to be able to get to almost 2 moves against the Dragonair, honestly. And so I'm going to go for the Ice Beam, because most of the time I would expect them to maybe think I'm going to go for Rage Fist, so I'm going to get the element of surprise, but they shielded anyway, so we're going to try and get to that Rage Fist. If we had gone for the Rage Fist, we could have gone for 2, but it's fine. We're going to be able to put a Azumarill in against this Dragonair, and the opponent is staying in. They throw the Body Slam with really nice timing here right before I get to my Ice Beam. After this move, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just wait a couple seconds, or not a second, but like wait a couple turns here, see if they throw a fast move or not, and they do, which means I'm going to go for this Ice Beam. We're going to knock out the Dragonair, and the opponent has Diggersby in the back, so yeah, Forretress would have been cooked against Diggersby. That's one of its worst enemies because it usually has Fire Punch to do that double super effective damage and just make my poor Forretress miserable. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in, try to redirect some of that energy. I have a shield, but 2 Scorching Sands would come extremely close to knocking out, forcing the opponent to go for a Fire Punch here. I just need to get to an Ice Beam. I'm going to let the first move go here. I know a Scorching Sands does about a quarter of Azumarill's HP, and so it does. So I can always excuse me, let one go, and they would need to get to a Fire Punch plus, or basically 2 Fire Punches or a Fire Punch plus a Scorching Sands. Opponent goes straight for the Scorching Sands, but since that was a CMP tie, we are going to be able to get the Ice Punch off and take this game, and we're just continuing on a win streak. I think I had a 9-1 stretch with this team, and then it was a 15-5 run, so just there we go. Getting the 5-0 on that next set here, and then we're going to go into the next game. We're facing a really good trainer, Jamie from Pallet. I have actually played against him in the past, and he's a very good trainer. We're going to go into the Shadow Annihilate here, and they are staying in here with their Talonflame, and they're going to go for a move right away here with the Talonflame, which some of them overfarm, some of them go for a move right away. And what I can do now is I can go for some energy, and they come with an Azumarill. So very, good awareness by this trainer, knowing that their Talonflame is in some level of danger, and they do need to keep it for the Forretress, but they've desynced the switch clock by this point to a point where I should be able to do something with this now. And I don't know what that was, weird lag. Maybe they waited a turn to see if I was going to catch and then tried to CMP me. I don't know, but they're going to lose the Azumarill. We have a triple boosted Ape, and we're going to be able to go for a lot of counter damage into this Talonflame. And now I just have a Azumarill on the Talonflame, and now we're fine. The opponent comes in with a Superior. I probably should have stayed in to throw that Ice Beam because we don't really have a whole lot of damage here. This is going to be a very boring matchup, to be completely honest with you guys. Frenzy Plant does about the same, if not maybe a little bit less than the Aerial Ace would, as I do believe that since the Forretress is Bug and Steel, it does double resist the Frenzy Plant. So very similar damage output here. He's going to go for Aerial Ace. Honestly, in hindsight, had he gone for straight Aerial Ace in this game, I think he would have won the game because, spoiler alert, literally the game is going to be closer than you think. Rock Tomb is going to be getting some damage in here. The opponent is going to swap into their Talonflame. I'm going to bring my Azumarill back in to make sure he can't take out my Forretress, as I do need it to take care of that Superior. And he's going to have 2 charge moves, and I'm like, go for the Flies. Or Brave Bird. If he goes for Brave Bird, it is what it is. I'm just going to have to put Trust into my Forretress here, but we do get to a move, as do they. So the Aerial Ace would probably not have knocked out there, but I didn't want to risk it because it could have been a Frenzy Plant, and they're just going to farm me down anyways. Our switch clock's coming back up here pretty soon. I'm hoping to make it to this ice beam, but the opponent throws right before we get there with really nice timing and energy awareness. So now I just need to get to a rock tomb here and hope it's enough. We're almost there. Just a couple more volt switches. The opponent throws their charge move, and if they can get to another move here before I can get to this rock tomb, we are in a bad shape here, as their Vine Whip's not doing much damage, but they get us just in range of what an Aerial Ace would knock out. But now rock tomb should be enough here. We're going to take out the opponent's superior just barely, but very, very close game. Well played to the opponent. Getting into the next game here, we have Toxapex on the lead once again. Love to see this here. As long as it's not on my Azumarill, I'm a happy guy. Opponent's going to swap into a Goodra, and I'm staying in. I was going to go for a Rock Tomb here, but like I don't want to swap in my Azumarill here too late, but the game also doesn't register my tapping, and apparently I have to go for an extra volt switch before I can bring in my Azumarill here. But the problem here that I'm going to have is that the opponent is very much going to be able to just bring their Toxapex in. I'm going to go for an Ice Beam and look to try and get rid of this thing, or maybe get a shield off the opponent here. They're probably going to be very happy to let this go anyway, so I don't expect them to have shielded, but we are going to be going for some bubbles, and I'm going to look to try to see if I can wait this switch timer out a little bit. I just need to get back into my Forretress. The opponent hard swaps in the Toxapex. I'm going to be able to almost at least get to a move, but the game just stops working. Once again, that's like the third or fourth time in the last couple of days that it happened. So we get into the next game. Anyway, we got Alolan Sandslash on the lead. This is a pretty good lead here, only because of the fact that they're on Powder Snow. We resist these fast moves, and we can usually, get a shield. Now, I have a pretty good matchup between Azumarill and Annihilate, but I wanted to put some damage on this thing first, just in case my Azumarill has to deal with it later in the game. I'm going to swap into my Annihilate and start getting these counters in, and that's going to do a ton of damage to this thing and put it definitely now in range of a Play Rough. And the opponent comes in with an Altaria of all things, which that was not on my bingo card of things I was expecting to see today, but honestly, after the triple Confusion team, I was expecting, you never know, man. Opponent's going to be able to get to a move just before we get this counter down, but just, again, the element of surprise, they didn't think we had Ice Punch, and we get him with Ice Punch. I love having Ice Punch on this ape. They immediately concede. Good game, well played. Next game, Forretress on a Dunsparce. I technically have good play into the whole thing here, but I'm just going to go straight to Annihilate because any time that I can, I do. And the opponent comes in with a Talonflame, and you guys have seen this already. I'm going to go ahead and just go for some energy, and then I'm going to go for 1, 2, 1, 2, and just do that twice. 1, 2, throw, 1, 2, throw. Now, I probably should have thrown a little earlier. I wasn't too sure about the timing, and I was really scared of letting a full Incinerate through, but the opponent decides to let it go, and they go for an Incinerate, but that's going to give me switch advantage, even though I don't necessarily need it. I have a ramped up energy full Annihilate, and the opponent comes in with a Feraligatr, so unfortunately, the energy is not going to be super useful, but the Feraligatr, man. Feraligatr was going to have to shield that because that was going to do a ton of damage. The opponent now is going to have a Shadow Hydro Cannon coming our way. I was thinking about letting this go, and honestly, I think my brain got some wires crossed because I very specifically remember saying, I'm not going to shield this, and then I hit the shield button. So that was a bit of an accidental shield, but I'm trying to see if I can't play out of it. Opponent is going to come back with the Dunsparce. I'm going to answer it with the Azumarill after getting the attack debuff. I just don't want to be within range of being taken out by really anything here. But the other thing too is that I wish I had that shield still. I really do, because Forretress, while it has some nice move pressure, it's very slow to get to those charge moves. It's like 3 or 4 volt switches per move, and the opponent now comes in with their Feraligatr. So I'm just gonna go for the Play Rough and hope for the best here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but I'm going to try to get them to dump their energy. We go for the Play Rough, and the opponent doesn't shield. They were trying to call an Ice Beam bait. I'm not sure why they didn't shield that, but we take them out anyway. Take a game here. Good game. And honestly, after the game just deciding not to work, when we had Toxapex in that first game, honestly, I'll take games like that, because it's just ridiculous the way that this game works sometimes. Opponent's got a Shadow Annihilate in the lead. This is scary. I don't really have a good way to respond to this because I cannot bring in my Azumarill because they can just punch through it or have an answer in the back. And I'm reminiscing of the Home Slice Henry team here. So I know they had a Toxapex in back, and I don't know what else is in the back, but I'm going to come in with my Annihilate, and I'm going to look to try and see what I can do with it here. And the opponent's going to come in with this Toxapex, and that, as soon as I see the Toxapex, I immediately am like, this is probably the Home Slice Henry team where he was using Shadow Annihilate lead with the Toxapex, and then he had a Dugong in the back. So by making this team read, I'm going to play accordingly and hope that they have that Dugong in the back. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to keep Ape alive and healthy and see if I can't save it for later to deal with the Dugong potentially. Or at least, you know, maybe I'm going to have my Forretress for later. So opponent is going to not be able, or they're not going to be able to get to a Brine before I can get to this Rage Fist. I'm going to see if I can force a shield off them, because if they don't, they might be in trouble. And I'm going to swap immediately into Forretress here to try and get the snipe down. But the opponent throws their energy. The Brine is going to hit, and then the opponent comes in with that Annihilate. And at this point, I can just come in with a Zoomerl. It's at an HP range where I can bubble down. If the opponent wants to go for a charge move, they have to go for the Rage Fist. Doesn't look like they're going to make it. And now if they have that Dugong in the back, I think we have a way to win. So we're going to be going for the play rough here. I'm going to get this damage off. The opponent is, they have a very bulky Dugong, but Annihilate can make very short work. The one, I'm looking for the opening here of them throwing when they don't have much energy. If they throw when they have nearly 2 moves, I'm in trouble, but they throw an Icy Wind, I'm immediately going to Annihilate because they did not build up to 2 moves, and I can get to this Rage Fist before they're going to be able to get to a move here, which is incredibly good for us to be able to get this damage in. The opponent not having any shields left, they don't have any way to get rid of this Annihilate, but they're not going to throw the energy, they're going to let it go, and they concede the match right there. They did not have much health left on that Toxapex. Azumarill would have been able to take it out, and we finished with a 4-1. We went 4-1, 5-0, 3-2, because game issues and hard counters is what it is, and then we had a 4-1 to finish the day off, and I genuinely think that this team could take somebody to Legend. Just like the last one, I think that this team is really strong, and that's why I like to share teams that I believe could take somebody up instead of just throwing teams out there because I got a good couple of sets with them. I only want to share the teams that I think are going to do some good for somebody. So hopefully, at least one of y'all, if you still are here, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments if this team does any good for you. I'd love to hear. The Shadow Annihilate is just so freaking good. I cannot get over how busted this thing is in the current Great League meta. Even in bad matchups, it's counter damages. It powers through everything. And that's going to do it for me for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.